In a recent video, I talked about why your sales may be failing or why you may not be getting sales and customers. It was a 20-minute video, and I felt that maybe I did not cover a lot more that I could. So I decided to do a part two. In the first one, in the first video, I talked about sales funnel may be broken, your offer may be broken, a little bit about that, and then your landing pages, your website, and which may be broken. That's leading to loss of sales. I also talked about your brand message and how that may not be, the right kind of message, a disconnect, and all that. Now, today I wanted to talk a little bit more about the sales funnel part of it and also a couple of other things. Now, going back to the sales funnel, I wanted to talk specifically about actually two things. The first is the offer. How strong is your offer, or how weak is your offer? Because I look around and I see that a lot of the offers out there are pretty weak. Now, when I say weak, I don't mean an offer that is shouting in your face, that is using tropes like scarcity and, the last two left, all these things. No, that's not what I meant. Those are tropes. Those are tactics that may work, may not work. They used to work at one point in the past. They're not really working now, and they won't work in the future. So I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the offer itself. So your service or your product, how is it packaged? What is the value you're putting to the client, right? And of course, your message has a part to do in this. Your message should be crafted to not only tell your brand story, at least in the sales context, but also to connect emotionally to the target audience, to sort of put that pitch out there. So the first thing you need to do is look at your offer and determine for yourself whether it's a strong offer or a weak offer. Now, I cannot tell you what a weak offer is or a strong offer is, because that depends on the context of your market segment, of your service product, of your brand legacy, of your target audience, your customers' worldview, and where they are in that journey, and all that. And it also depends on the price, and I'll talk about that next. But you need to determine for yourself if your offer um, looks and feels strong. Is it? Do you feel, if you were in your customer shoes, that you would actually take that offer up? That is very fundamental and might seem like an obvious thing. And a lot of people do spend a lot of time looking at their offers and refining them, tweaking them. But when you're very close to your offer, when you're very close to your marketing, for your sales, sometimes you may not see, um, you know, what's wrong with that, and you may not be able to determine if it's a strong or a weak offer. So if that is the case, then reach out into your audience, reach out into your customers, and conduct a survey or a poll and find out what others think of your offer. Okay, that's the first bit. The second bit is the pricing. Your sales may be suffering because of your pricing. Now, not just that your pricing may be high. In fact, your sales may suffer if your pricing is low. So pricing is something that really determines your sales. Now, all this is assuming that people have already arrived to your sales funnel and they are at the door. Right now, they've opened the door. Now they've stepped into the room, so to speak, and this is where your pitch is happening. Right. So, assuming they're already here, pricing determines the lack of or sales. Now, what does that mean? Okay, if you price low, you're as likely to lose sales as when you price high. A lot of people think that they actually price high. They look at their pricing and they think, maybe we could price this lower. And a lot of people believe that pricing something lower would get them sales. Maybe a couple of blips of sales you may have, but it's the worst strategy in the short term, medium term, and especially in the long term. right? It's going to erode your brand. It's going to erode your offer. It's going to weaken your entire market sector because everybody else would be doing the same. And then you have price wars, a race to the bottom. And you probably heard me speak about this in my videos, in my interviews, um, and also in roundtables. I hate price wars. And I urge people not to get into price wars. That should be the really, really diabolically last thing you need to do. If literally the last thing, and even then, maybe not, right? So if your sales are down and you are kind of wondering why your sales are down, don't look at the price as your first point of call. Don't look at your price as the thing that may fix this. No, because price, especially reducing price, okay, there may be certain situations where if you genuinely feel and the market is telling you and you you have analyzed the situation and think that maybe you're overpriced your service or product, then okay. But what does that mean? What is overpricing? What is underpricing? So you need to look at the value you're providing. Of course, if your product is giving a value of $200 to the client in terms of the end result, maybe the time they save or whatever it is, right? And you price it at $50. Okay, that's a great price for that product. But if your product saves someone $200 and you price it at $300, then okay, you get what I mean. So you need to first start at, and this is what I spoke about in the first video, you need to look at the value your product or service is providing to your clients, the value, the real value, and then price accordingly. In fact, you probably heard me in one of my interviews saying that if you're starting a business, start at the price and then work on your product and service and refine it, because the price should be set based on what you want to achieve financially. Every business should should move forward based on your goals. They should move towards certain goals that you may have. And these goals are financial goals. Um, and you know what? I'm not good. Yeah, there might be people who dispute me, and don't let anyone tell you that your pricing doesn't matter or your goals, your financial goals don't matter, but you need to build this aspirational company. Listen, I'm all for aspiration. In fact, um, that's what I advocate to most of my clients, that you need to build an aspirational um, company or business. But financial goals are what drive business. That's really the end game. So look at your pricing. Do not underprice yourself. Do not undervalue yourself. At the same time, do not overprice. Price right. Price for the value you're creating. And if you're not creating any value, that's where the problem is, not the price. So go back and think about the value that you. How can I add value to this? Right? I'm selling this widget, product, service. What can I do to add value? How else can I? What does adding value mean? Not just stacking value. You might find some funnels out there from sales funnels where you got a base price and then they say, wait, you're getting this worth 479. You're getting this another thing for $300 worth $300. You're getting this worth $100,000. All this is included in this. You know what? Maybe that used to work once upon a time. Now it's just noise, right? And people are sophisticated, consumers are sophisticated. They can see through that, and it just comes off and looking like a cheap sales pitch, a cheap trick, right? So don't go for that. Add real value. Think about it. Okay, what does my customer do with this product or service, right? What is the benefit that they're getting? Now, what are the other friction points within that process, that the journey of getting your product, opening it up, using it, or a service, and then solving their problem? What other friction points are there? Where else can you add value so that it becomes a great example? Is maybe your product has I don't know, a dedicated Facebook group where you answer questions once a week, something like that, right? That is definitely value added. Um, it depends on the product. It's not easy to say what value to add, right? I cannot tell you unless, of course, I'm working with you on your strategy, and then that's a different thing. But it's not a rule of thumb. Okay, another thing that might be killing your sales, and is your ego. Now, I mean it. A lot of people out there, business owners, founders, they they use subconsciously, there's no malicious intent, it's not like on purpose, but without knowing, that they let their ego dictate their product, the service, the message. I'll give you a very superficial example, but that will give you an idea. If you go on LinkedIn, and then you look at a lot of service providers, coaches, and strategists, or people who will help you get business on LinkedIn, lead generation, all these people, and look at the titles they give themselves, right? They're getting fancier and fancier. Now, there's some ego playing there. There's also partly the belief that the fancier it is, the more creative you appear to be, and therefore your potential customers would see that and say, "Oh, I want to work with this guy," right? Maybe, and maybe there is some value in that. But remember the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule. Suppose your target audience is looking for help in getting leads, right? That's all they care about. And you're providing a service that will get them leads. That's it. Just use your basic terminology. Let them know what you're doing. That's about it. Don't be chief evangelist, or don't use terms like, I don't know, chief wishmaker, all these kinds of. Look, they're fun, they're creative, and hey, of course, at the end of the day, you can use what you want. The context of this video and my advice in this particular point is about you losing sales. So if you're serious about that, then this, I think, is, look at yourself, look at your product, go to your website. What is the kind of language you're using? What are you saying? Um, and then compare that to what your audience really cares about, right? Also, the level of audience. Now, when I say a level of audience, remember this: people are not just in one level or in a bucket, for everything, right? No, no, no. With reference to your product. For instance, I may be a sophisticated audience when it comes to photography, cameras. Reason? For the last 20 years, I've bought almost all cameras, digital cameras that came out, including the latest Leica. Not all of them, but if you know what I mean. Upgrading my cameras. I bought a ton of lenses. I have a ton of lenses, so on and so forth. And I love photography. So I'm fairly sophisticated, right? And if you're talking about the sensor size and how removing a particular element is going to increase the light that comes in, I would get it. But same me, I'm not a sophisticated customer when it comes to financial instruments, right? I'm pretty bad at that. I've done my fair share of trading, and I understand all those. But beyond that, financial instruments, I'm not sophisticated, right? So when I'm looking for a camera, the messages that are fancy, that are creative, that are sophisticated, they work well with me. But then when I go to a financial, if I want to buy a financial instrument out there, then it needs to be dumbed down. So you need to decide who your audience is and whether you need to make your message fancy or dumb it down. Now, usually, dumbing it down is the best policy. And dumbing it down is not a bad thing. It just means that you're clarifying it, you're simplifying it. So, ego. Now, why did I say ego in this? Why did I start off with? Because a lot of people think genuinely that their product, their business, their company is fancier than it ought to be, or that it really is, right? And partially, of course, they want to appear to be. Don't fall to the temptation that you need to appear, because you know why. If, for example, you are a lead generator, right? On LinkedIn, you generate leads for other people. But then you put your title as sales strategist, and then your profile, your about indicates, your bio talks about strategies. Now, you may be thinking, well, okay, this way I'm going to get bigger clients that maybe want strategies. Now, are you offering strategies? Are you a real strategist? If you are, that's good. Also, is that the main kind of funnel that you've set up? If that is, fine. But if your main funnel is getting customers who just want leads and you're offering a simple service, something that you're really good at, and you don't want to get involved in the sales strategy that will bring in buyer personas and then you need to find, if you're doing none of that and you don't have the skills for that, what is going to happen when you start sounding fancy with your title, with your bio? You're attracting the wrong kind of people. You'll be attracting customers that are sophisticated, that need a bigger service than just leads. But when they come to your profile or your landing page, one look at what you're providing, your offer, and they're gone because there's a disconnect. But suppose you said lead generation, you're a lead generator, that's all it is. And your bio says, I generate leads and this is what I've done. And then your landing page says, do you want leads? This is what I do to generate leads. These are the packages. This is what I've done in the past. These are the testimonials. That's about it. Then what happens is that the people, the audience that you're targeting, when they come there, they understand that you get sales. So ego. Now, ego manifests in other places too, in your sales pitches and all that. Put your ego aside, right? If your business is not fancy, don't try and make it sound fancy. Don't fall to the temptation of trying to use words just for the sake of it, right? Simplify, clarify. Okay, what about tropes? I mentioned this at the beginning of the video. A lot of sales funnels have use techniques that the founders, the startup, the business owners, the entrepreneurs, you have maybe read somewhere, watched a video, and then they say scarcity, for example, is a great trope, right? They say, if there is no urgency in your sale, in your pitch, in your funnel, then you're going to lose a lot of sales. Okay, it's a good fundamental principle, but you got to think about your product. Does urgency make sense? If you're selling a digital product, and I can't believe how a lot of businesses, in fact, got away with it in the past. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work now. But they would say it's a digital product, right? It's a digital product. It's maybe a course, and then they say only 39 left. Before we close the doors. Close the doors on what, right? So if you're putting artificial scarcity into your sales process, that's probably killing your sales. Yes, instead of enhancing your sales. Look, if your product or service does support scarcity, then fine. For instance, I might have an offer out and I say, I'm opening up the service, my strategy service, to 10 people this month, right? I will take on 10, I'll get on 10 calls. Each call will last an hour, 2 hours, and I will discuss with you, and I will of course do some research and then advise you on how to take your brand to the next level. Suppose that's the offer. Now there, I can genuinely say scarcity, 10 calls. That's about it, because each call takes a couple of hours, the call, and then it'll probably take 2 to 3 hours of prep work, research, ideation, brainstorming, strategy. And then after the call is over, maybe another half hour, maybe even an hour to put together the report and send it to the client, right? So if I say 10 slots left, better hurry, that makes sense. But if I'm launching a service, a course, something like how to awaken your brand, right? So this course will teach you how to really get to the core of your brand so that you start seeing results, blah, blah. Now that course, if I said, the last 10, I don't know, left opening, then you're gonna see that. The customers will see that and they will hate it, right? So if you're using any tropes, look at all the tropes. Look at what you're saying and what you're trying to do. Is there desperation in your sales pitch? These tropes are nothing but desperation. The scarcity tactics and all this is desperation, right? So if you are using any of these tropes, then remove them. Remove them. Be genuine. Be authentic. Be human, right? Get rid of those. So this tropes is, very important, and those kill your sales. The last thing in this video, again, we're over the 20-minute mark. The last thing I want to talk about is what is important to your customer. Ask yourself this question, because most of the sales pitches out there, offers, sales funnels, they only look at what is important to the business, to the business person or to the entrepreneur, right? You look at everything from your perspective, and you're thinking, what is important to me? I need sales. So to get the sale, what do I need to do? And then what, that's from your perspective. But also think about it from your customer. What is important to your customer? Not just in your product or service, or what your product or service solves, but also in their worldview. What is important to them, right? Because if you're not thinking about what is important to your customers and what they value, then maybe you're not only missing an opportunity by not messaging, aligning your message with that, but also maybe you're putting them off by messaging the opposite, right? Maybe your messaging or your sales is talking about stuff that is going to put them off. So think very carefully about what is important to your customer and start from there. What is important to your customer? What is your audience journey? How are they going through that journey to arrive at your product or service? When they do, what is your sales funnel like? What message starts your funnel? How is your messaging? Is it clear? Is it simple? And is there ego involved? Are you just using fancy stuff just for the sake of it, right? And then you're leading them through the funnel. Once they arrive at your landing page, how are your landing pages? Landing page or whatever it is that, it could be a YouTube video or LinkedIn profile, whatever it is. Okay, LinkedIn profile is different, of course, because you don't control the design, but your landing pages, are they designed well? Not beautiful. That's not the question here. It's not about beautiful. It's about the right design. Because a financial audience, right? People looking for financial advice or whatever they want to invest. When they come to a page and it's corporate and it's clean, they will go for it. They're not looking for beauty. They're not looking for creative colors. In fact, they'll be put off by that. But the same audience, if they're looking for some other service, may be okay with some extra creativity. So it's not about just paying someone to jazz up your website with colors. And no, that's not it. You need to think through, and the right for your audience, you need to craft that. What about friction on your landing pages and through your checkout process, through your buying your buying process? How is it difficult? Do you make your people jump through hoops? Your checkout page, for example, are you asking for stuff on your form for them to check out that you don't need, right? There could be a date of birth, for example. I've seen date of birth on so many. These days, it's getting less and less. But in the past, why? Why do you, unless you're selling alcohol or something that requires my age, right? What about a mandatory phone number? Some forms have a mandatory phone number. And then if it's a digital product, first of all, you don't need a mandatory. But if you do, then they use the format is US format. And then international customers struggle. You see what I'm saying? These are all frictional points. So go through with a fine tooth comb and go through each and every field, each and everything, each and every action your customers take. Because they're gonna click away, they're gonna get impatient, and so on. And then round it all up by your product and service and how easy it is used. So anyway, I wanted to go through some more points on how and why you may be losing sales. So let me know if you have any questions. Hit me up on Twitter or leave comments below, or LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn and then ask me questions. If you have faced one of these situations, or you've done all these and yet you're struggling with sales, let me know. I may not be able to give you the exact answer, but I can help you think. This is meta skills. My job here through these videos is to help you learn the skills to learn how to fix your business or your sales and all that. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to this channel because I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on these topics, on the real important topics, not just some fancy lists on how to go about, uh, you know, getting sales, but rather thinking through, going to the fundamentals and all that. Okay. So till my next video, take care and prosper.